So it's been 10 months since we've been here at the homestead. Since the point we left the city to come and and get on with a new life, so to speak.
Greener pastures.
Greener pastures, yeah, here at the homestead. So we've just come together to sit here and along with you to just reflect on those 10 months. It's a little bit more as we talk about from where the journey began, and hopefully just go through some of the most appearing comments, in the comment section in the previous videos over time, and just talk about some of the things. Some of the things we have not responded directly in the comments, maybe in this video we'll talk about it. Yeah, so that's what it's about this morning. With my coffee in tow.
Yeah. 10 months, that doesn't feel like 10 months. Does it feel like 10 months to you?
No, it doesn't, I think.
Does it feel longer?
It doesn't. I don't know. I don't have sense of time in a way. I think it will come clearer when we reflect. This is just a reflection, to reflect on the 10 months. But yeah, definitely I don't have a thorough hold of time. Time has been moving, but I think it's been good, one day after the other. Yeah. So we have got a few things here that we've put down to help us, to talk about it maybe in a structured way, and not haphazardly. So, why did you choose homesteading, and when did the journey start? Okay. Why did we choose homesteading, and when did the journey start? So our homesteading journey is longer than what has appeared on screen. We came here when we actually started to do the work on the homestead in 2021. Yeah, 2021. Yeah, but we already had been maintaining our the land allocated to us through the levies and everything as way back as 2011. Of course, I was much younger than I am now. We're both much younger than that. We're still in the city vibe, but we had that opportunity back then, 2011. So we're just paying up our levies, as required here in the rural areas to pay the levies. So that's, if you want to put it that way, that's really when our journey began. So it's been many years of just thinking about it, intending to do it, and then we finally made the move in 2021, and then we started to build. I think the following year we did the fencing all around the property. We then moved on to start the construction work. We did the farm bricks. I think it's in the previous videos as well, and then we moved on to start the actual construction work.
Yeah. So back then, when we were given the land, it was just dormant. It was just lying there.
Yeah.
And we were just servicing. We were doing the levies, as Arthur said, and at that time, it was. We were still pretty much in the city until 10 years later in 2021, when we were like, okay, let's do something.
Yeah.
When the desire to really, utilize the land was fully set in both of our hearts, and we just went for it. We just dove right in. There was no. I think we were just at the same page.
Yeah.
I didn't need to convince you. You didn't need to convince me. It just
absolutely. I think comments have been made that we agree on most things. I think it brings us back to that. It doesn't mean, just to touch on that, it doesn't mean that we've always agreed. But I think for the most part, you know, throughout our journey together, it's been mostly being on one page. And one of the things that you find is that you know, us as a married couple, the longer you go in it, you tend to understand one another probably on a different level, which then makes it much easier. It's not always the case in all relationships, but I guess you know, that's how it's been with us. Yeah, I think there was the part that we didn't touch on is why we actually you know, decided to do homesteading. What's your take on that?
I think just the quest for a quieter life, and having self-reliance. I think this will now just dive into, you know, one of the other questions of what it is to us, what homesteading is to us. You know, that being out here, there's just so much peace. There's a lot of fresh air because of the trees. There's a lot of I don't know, there's just the community spirit, which is sadly dying in the cities, in the urbans, because everybody's really busy with their own lives. I mean, I totally understand, having lived in the city too, because there's just a lot that you need to chase after, and so, you know, it's not really, the community is not really strong anymore because everyone's busy with their own lives. So yeah, the major thing is the self-reliance, and just living a quiet, peaceable life. Yeah. And for those who are interested in land, I realized that, you know, I needed to mention this because something that is coming up about raw land. We're going to be doing a workshop, you know, I think in the next 2 weeks or so. It's an online workshop where we're just going to be talking about, you know, land acquisition, raw land acquisition in Zim, how you go about it, what are the requirements. So this again, it's along the lines of the questions that we've received. So what we're trying to communicate through this workshop, you know, I'll come back to what Rumbi was talking about, but it ties into that. What we're trying to communicate is that, you know, what is the legit way of actually getting raw land in Zimbabwe? What is raw land? How does it work? Because all these things will affect you one way or the other. So the workshop would be for anybody who's looking to get raw land in Zim, or you already have got land and you want to understand, you know, depending on how you got it, what are the implications? So you can prepare for the future, or you can just be in a legit position with the land. So that workshop will be coming up. You can look in the description box. I'll put a link, you know, to the mailing list that you can join. We're going to send out an email. I think we'll also put a group that you can join if you're on WhatsApp, and then we'll announce in that in those places when the workshop is happening. But again, this will be a paid workshop, just a token fee for you to put skin in the game, you know. But we'll announce those details in the communication that will follow, so you can check the description. Yeah, so, you know, again, it's land. Like, you know, my side of the story in terms of why we came out here. I think land is big in the life of a human being. Just to be on a piece of land, it changes a lot of things mentally, you know, psychologically. So over and above the things that Rumbi has mentioned, I think that you know, that desire to be on a piece of land that you control in a special way, concerning self-reliance, you can have your own animals, you can grow your own food, and just the natural environment itself, I think it's incredibly inviting, and it was to both of us. So much that as the journey was developing, we're so much immersed in a lot of YouTube channels on homesteading that we're watching, we're following. There wasn't much here in Zim, you know, so we feel the frustration, or, you know,
I don't know, the disappointment when a channel you're following, goes silent for a while, and you really want to watch the content. We experienced that because the channels we're watching here in Zim, some of them have not returned. Hopefully all is well. But yeah, so the land factor for me, which ties into self-reliance, was the reason why we decided to come out here and just raise the remaining years of our kids that they have with us before they leave the nest in this kind of environment together.
Yeah. And family. So several have been wondering if we have family here and how we ended up here. Yeah, so yes, we do have family. This is ancestral land. Some may have picked it when we were speaking in one of our videos that our grandmother gave us this. She gave us seed. She gave us loan. She's also the one who gave us seed for the suckers for the banana plantation. Yeah, so we do have our grandmother here, and it goes back to great grandfather and grandmother, and then we've got sekurus, razukuru, which are like nephews, yeah. So long and short of it is, yes, we do have family, and it's an ancestral land, so we did not. That's how we acquired the land. There was no purchasing of the land, and I think we'll delve into that in the workshop. Rural land is not for sale.
Yeah.
So yeah, that will be touched on in more detail in the workshop.
Okay, I'm curious to hear from you on camera how it's been in the last 10 months as you reflect on it, how homesteading has been, looking at how we're following homestead channels, for example, how we thought about homesteading when we're talking about it back in the city before we got our hands dirty, to do the work. How has it been the last 10 months? Basically, I'm saying if you compare your homesteading idea then, which was theoretical, and what it is today, how do you reflect on it?
I think it's been a good 10 months. Comes with the challenges, of course. The El Nino, but I think already in my mind I was prepared, knowing that it's a lot of elbow grease. You have to be pretty hands-on. Yes, you can have people helping you at the homestead. You can have a caretaker. You can have, people coming in to do certain things. You don't have to do everything yourself. But we also, at least I speak for both of us, that we love to be hands-on. We love to get our hands dirty. We love to do the gardening ourselves. In the little projects that we tackled, the DIYs that we've been doing ourselves, because that's one thing when you're out here, you can't really, you can't necessarily just call a plumber to say something is not working, or there's a leak here. Because of the distance, the logistics and all that.
Yeah, one of the times we had to unblock the blocked toilet. Won't get into details, but I had to put on a plastic and things like that.
Okay, that's detailed enough.
Yeah, but just to buttress the point that you have to do it yourself.
Yeah. So those were like realities that were opening up, that you will need to be hands-on. We love being hands-on. I think there would actually be another video that will talk about, about some of the things that you need, essential things for homesteading. Yeah. More time with family. So like our immediate family, us and the children. In the city, we generally did have lots of time with them because they're homeschooled. But here, in a different environment, everybody is just relaxed. There's lots of peace, lots of fresh air. You can take nature walks, which is just fantastic. And then on the self-reliance we talked about earlier, that is the goal. That's where we want to get to be able to raise our own animals that we then eat. We know what we've been feeding our animals. We know exactly what we're cooking, what we're eating. That is a goal that we are looking towards. So, yeah, and then as far as the other family that we left in the city, we still communicate via, through technology. You can do your video calls and all that. Yes, of course, you do miss them, but we're also not alone here.
Yeah.
We've got family still here. So yeah, and then they get to visit, come out here also when they come to visit, which would be great. So overall, for me, my reflection is that it's lovely. I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
To say the truth, are you enjoying it?
My face looks like I'm not.
Well, I just want to make sure that you're truly enjoying it.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, you would see my behavior all the days that we're living here,
sure.
to say something's wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So for you, what in your opinion, having been here for this much little time, who would you say homesteading is for?
Yeah, I think homesteading is for anyone who's interested in. I mean, you have to have a special interest in the land, in nature. You have to have a special interest in of some level of self-reliance, because that's basically what it entails. Because once you unplug and come out here, you are basically, it doesn't matter really how far you may be out of the city, as long as it's raw and some considerable distance away from the conveniences. There's some things that you have to deal with that you will no longer be able to access when you're in urban. I think.
Sorry, I just reminded me.
Yeah.
That for me, one of the things also on the reflections is that when you want to have takeout, you can't have takeout here. Yeah. Sometimes when you're tired and exhausted and you don't really want to cook, but you have to cook because you can't order takeout. So it's one of the little downsides of it, but overall it's not a big train smash. One of the workarounds I found on that is just to batch cook and freeze, and then you have less. You just need to prepare the starch.
And me also cooking.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I've done a fair number of on fire dishes.
Yes, I'm really thankful for that and grateful and happy that you're back on board.
Yeah, well, anytime. Oh, that was the whole point of coming out here, because when you're in urban, you kind of like a whole lot of things that are happening. So now there's more time, there's more support that you can give with some of these things, which I think kind of like brings the family together in a special way. The family together and the relationship, between us, even closer. So that's a good thing. So I think that overall, homesteading it's a philosophical thing. There's some philosophy in it. Like I mentioned, your love and appreciation of all these things, the land, the nature, the animals, and all those. It's a philosophical position that feeds into your values, personal values. There are reasons that you may want to leave the city that may not actually have to do with finances. Many people today, it's obviously a financial decision as well, because out here, as we have shown in the previous videos, your cost of living just drops. But there's also other values, where you want to be in a place where you can think clearly, where there's less crime, where there is no traffic congestion. And I think that homesteading is for, and this is based on data that we have seen, even with the people that follow our channel, which we appreciate. The age group, it's about what? 35?
Late 30s,
Late 30s, late 30s onwards. And then you've got a lot of people in the 40s as well. So if you look at these individuals, these are people who are now thinking of some form of stability, some form of slowdown in life, because they're kind of like, in a way, past the peak, where you are very active, you're a young person or young woman, so you're kind of like looking at that. The graph is kind of like tempering down, and you want to have a slow life. You still have the energy, you still have what it takes and what is needed, to set up this thing, but that's just the right time to do it. So that's what I think about who should think about homesteading. But it's open. I mean, the doors are open. And I'll mention this point, which I've seen on social media, people talking about, and I do agree. You have a lot of young people who are leaving Zimbabwe for the diaspora, which is a good thing. I think it may be a time. I've been abroad on different times, short periods and things like that. But it's a good thing to explore and maybe even to raise finances. But one thing you need to remember about Africa, which is a complete blessing, is your ability your access to land. Land is incredible. I don't really care how you get the land. I don't care. That's why we're going to do the workshop. I don't care if it's communal land. If it's legit land, you're going to hold that land for a very long time. That's what I believe, if it's done legitimately. So, and you have got access to this land, at zero amount. For those who are paying whatever, if you compare, it's basically nothing. So you won't get that abroad. You won't get that in America. You won't get it in Europe. You won't get it anywhere, in most parts of the world, but here on the continent. So my advice to the young people who live is that before you do that, if you can, secure, communal land, because that's the easiest land that you get, the cheapest and free land that you can get. You fence it, you secure it, then you live, because you're going to need it. You're going to think about it, as many are now. If you go through, all the YouTube comments and everything that is going on, people are thinking about land back home, because you realize the value of it and how accessible it is, so that's my thinking about who should homestead and the philosophy behind it. Okay, so let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. I think some of the things you've touched on or hinted on, but I would like to just hear from you. So you see, one of the things as the man, as the husband, at least for me, is to I'm interested to know what she thinks about where we are, because I think that's the whole point. I would like to pick her mood concerning how we are doing. Is she liking this life? Is she, how are we doing? So, that's why I asked these questions. Yeah, so talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly for you.
All of it, or just?
Yeah, maybe you can pick the main ones.
Yeah, if I was to pick one.
Yeah.
One good, one bad, one ugly.
Yeah.
Okay, but then again, I would like to. For me, I'm loving it. I'm loving it here. I would say again that if I wasn't, then I'm sure you'd have seen from day one. Okay, maybe not day one. Maybe day one you have a lot of excitement. Maybe a couple of days later, then you would see that the mood is changing. Have you?
No, I mean, yeah, it's good. It's been a flow, but when you're busy at the homesteads, like I would be maybe attending to this and that, you may miss that. So I think that question is still
okay.
Valid,
the good, just being in a very spacious, airy, nature-filled space. For me, that's one of the highlights. Just being out here, enjoying the views, every day. Just all the space, seeing the kids flourishing, blooming, growing out here. Yeah, that's just been, if I was to pick one thing, I would say that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one good. One bad, or maybe one good for you, then I'll move to the bad.
One good for me is just the thinking. I had projected that by this time, when we go to the homestead, I would indulge myself in a lot of intellectual things, which is what I like to do. Apart from the outdoor work, for example, research, thinking clearly, and things like that. Which is, for those who don't know, which gave birth to the Idea Lab. I do a lot of research around business. It's something that I was interested in doing, and just share that information, give it out, so you can check that out too. But I could not get to a point of clarity of thought in Harare. I just could not do it because there was a lot of things happening. The location where we're living, the traffic noise, just the daily grind, everything that was going on. I felt like my head, I would mention to you many times that I felt like my head was in a drum. You could not stop a moment and think, and so everything it just had to happen. So, but since coming out here, I think my mind has just been set free. Yeah, I've mentioned here before that I love the mornings, like now, the air. So I don't know if you've noticed the level of just the creativity, and to think freely, and think ahead, do things. I just love that. Combined with technology, I think it gives me, since you asked about me, it gives me a special opportunity of self-expression, through publication of working online, doing the research, and then doing the publication of whatever I'll be doing. So I just love, that's been extremely good for me to be able to think clearly, the nature walks, and I think it's good for our health as well. Because I think the city was just bombarding my mind. That's what I think.
Yeah. The serenity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's fantastic because, like Arthur said, we lived right by the highway. So the traffic noise was just hectic. It got to a point where it was just too much. You'd be surprised if a minute or if 30 seconds pass and there's quiet.
Yeah,
there's always traffic.
Town area. The combis, it's crazy.
And it was so bad that we were worried that it was now affecting the kids concentrating in school. Because so it's
even when I spoke to my brother about this when we were leaving, I told him, man, I can't, this is just crazy. I can't continue like this. We just need to to go homesteading and find some peace. And your reflections on the bed?
So my reflection on the bed, it's more of the what if, or maybe a slight regret in the beginning. We had wanted to drill a borehole. The very, very beginning, before even doing the house, we wanted to do a borehole for water. And then here, because the years passed, because water is just something that is always available, we were discouraged to sink a borehole because they said just go and get a permit and plug in your pipe at the springs in the mountains, and then you have water coming. Don't worry about having boreholes. And then El Nino hit, and we were in the thick of it. Affected a lot of things which we had hoped to have gotten done. So that is one bad for me, one regret. We will still get to we'll work on getting the borehole still just to be secure. Right now, there's still plenty of water. But yeah, I think it's good to just to always have your own source of water. And funny thing is, just before the rainy season started, a lot of people started drilling boreholes.
Yeah, many people. Yeah,
there was even a rig just parked by our
2 or 3 of them.
And people were drilling. So yeah, I think if we had done it back in 2022, 21 when we started, then we would have been sorted. But anyway, we live and learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for you?
Yeah, for me, it's more of, again, a Ms. 10 in the beginning. So concerning our communication, we are covered by Starlink, as we have shown in our previous videos. I think that's an incredible technology. I'm a tech guy, so I really appreciate, In fact, just a quick note to say, I may have mentioned in the past, there's no way we could have made the move to come to Homestead without stable internet because of our work. So we have Starlink, it's very fast, it's incredibly good, I can't be thankful enough for having that. But we have got a missing part, in the entire communication, system, which is a mobile voice calls. For example, on Econet, the MNOs, the mobile network operators, we don't have Econet here, we don't have Net1. You can get it, it's spotty in some places. I think we have showed in the previous videos where we go under a tree or in the bushes. But for the most part, that has been weak in the, again, so you have to actually leave the homestead and go to a different location to get network. But sometimes you don't find it. If it rains, you get there's nothing, and you'd have walked, So that's a missing part. So you can, if you look at your phone, you can see the bars of connectivity, right? But to actually get viable service, you won't get it, which means it's I don't know what it is, just a dummy indication, but doesn't have strength enough to connect you. So what happened in the beginning when we were coming, we actually got into a shop in Harare, and we knew that we needed to boost our connectivity. So we saw the booster. I think it was $150, which we then found to be much cheaper on, in China on Alibaba. But at that time we could have bought it, but we said, well, okay, we'll leave it for later. Let's lose the money for something else. Let's use the money for something else. But then it turned out to be a critical, component that we needed. So when we went back to the shop, contact them, they say we no longer have it in stock. For the reason that it was popular with a lot of farmers. We also had these dead zones, for networks in their areas. So yeah, that's been a problem. The real problem is in that when you do online transactions, for example, that require SMS, OTP, one-time password, which is sent by SMS, you won't get it. So it really affects how we do certain things. You don't always need it, because with the banks that we use, they send it by email. Other services like Omari, they send it by email, which is not equal. So we actually have to shift to Omari for some transactions because they send OTP by email and not SMS. So anything related to voice calls and SMS, we're just in a dead zone. We can't access that. But we hope to change that. Maybe we'll get that booster. And we're also happy that there are technological advances that are happening. For example, related to Starlink, where they are going to be rolling out direct to cell, where you use your cell phone, direct from satellite. It covers the entire globe. There is no dead zone anymore. So that is going by what has happened in Zim, how Zim has embraced Starlink as a technological solution. So we are hoping for the best. But in the interim, we might actually then have to, if we find it, or order from China a booster to solve that problem. So yeah, that for me has been a pain, really.
Yeah. Ugly, there's no ugly.
Yeah,
so ugly for me. Just the good and the bad.
If it comes up, we'll mention it maybe in the next one. But there's so much. So for now, it's been really, the good and the bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've just gone ahead to kind of like put together some concepts or themes based on some of the frequently asked questions here on the channel. So the first one, water.
Water, yeah. So where do we get our water from, and our drinking water as well? So our water, we once showed this in one of the earlier videos, comes from the mountain springs about nearly 2 kilometers, and it's spring water. It's pretty good. It's close to mineral water, but we do treat it for drinking. Everything else in the house for bathing or whatever, it just comes straight into the pipes. But for drinking, we just treat it. And how do we treat it? We use chlorine. The water guard, we just put according to the measurements on the bottle.
Yeah. Okay. And schooling?
Schooling. So yes, how do the children learn when you're out here? So for us, from the very beginning, we have been homeschooling from when they were wee high. They do not know any conventional school system, except for when they were going to write exams. That's when they interacted with a school, formal school setup. But other than that, we already had our system set. So when we came here, it was just a smooth transition for them to just continue with their schooling. And even for the little one, she's now just started and she's starting out here. And so if somebody also wants to do homesteading, don't necessarily have to do homeschooling. We know and appreciate that homeschooling is not for everyone. But you can still take your children to good boarding schools, and they still get their education that way.
I think that just to add there that a lot of things are changing. If you look closely what is happening in the world, I think that the future of education will be very different, and this won't be long from now. So if you're planning on homesteading, let's say in the next 3, 4, 5 years, probably it won't be the same things that are holding back people now concerning schooling that will be present at that time. So it's just something to look out for. I'm just speaking as somebody who tries to be quite close to the technological developments, especially what is happening on the AI front and things like that. So I think that a lot of things are going to be changing. So that also will have an impact on homesteading and how we approach it. So land is one of the commonly asked questions in the comments. So as mentioned earlier, we've got an online workshop to deal with that and answer everything and give our insights and our experience. So the link will be in the description box. And then we also have got the income. Income is talked about a lot. How do you make your income when you're out in the village, homesteading? Well, as mentioned earlier, we had kind of, speaking for ourselves, we kind of aligned, everything to be able to be in a place where we are supported financially when we are here. So, it was over time, over all the years that we're preparing to come out here. But it doesn't mean, one has to do the same. There are people who are doing homesteading and basing their income on, growing stuff, raising animals. Others even, run businesses in the growth point. Even for us, we've observed many opportunities actually that exist at the growth point. So if one wanted to launch a business, you'll be able to do that to sustain yourself. So the income it holds many people back, but from what we've seen, there are opportunities even out here. You just have to know which opportunities are available and how to capitalize on them.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we've got another question, or what we'll talk about as well, is village traditions. How do you handle village traditions? Because out here, I think the perception and the understanding that many people have is that when you're in rural Zimbabwe, you have to live by the traditions and do all that needs to be done, based on people's experience when they lived in the rural areas and different things of that nature. So one thing for certain is that there's a level of traditional practices here, but depending on what's been said to you and what your perception, it's not at least in our experience to the extent that it's been said to be. There are village traditions of a different nature. For example, Thursday, the first of every month, Thursday, is a holiday. Okay, so in other words, you're not allowed to be plowing, to be doing any activities, especially to do with the ground, like tilling the soil. So you can do everything else. You can cook your food. You can do whatever.
Feed your
animals and things like that. So it's a form of Sabbath. Okay, it's a form of Sabbath, but in a traditional sense. So that has to be observed. In the beginning, when we were building, it was a frustrating point, frankly, because we had the contractors on the ground, and there were so many,
targets.
Yeah, there were so many targets, but there were so many of these days that had to be observed. So the contractors had to stop. So they could just spend a day sitting because, today you're not allowed to work, and then it comes back again, maybe a couple of days later, because there were things that were, different things that were happening. So that was a frustrating period. But there's a way out, in the sense that you can actually, especially in our case or in our experience, you can approach the traditional leadership and ask for a waiver, so that you can be able to continue with your construction activities, for example. So you imagine, for example, if you brought in a bulldozer to do your ground, okay, because this guy is charged by the day, or even sometimes by the hour. So each day is sitting, they are billing you. So those kind of circumstances are understood. So you are likely to get a waiver just to continue with your work, so that you don't accumulate a lot of cost just with the machinery just sitting. So yeah, those are the village traditions. So it's not overwhelming, we must say, for us. In our experience, we hardly feel it. Actually, there are activities where that communities come together, and you have to, for example, go and work on the road together. You have seen in our previous videos that some of the work we just do ourselves. For example, we go and cut the grass for a community road, but there are other joint efforts to fix certain parts of the road that are used communally. So you'd have your caretaker going, or your employee going to help out with that in your stead. So because we'll be working, our day is structured in a certain way that we have got hours that we are behind the desk working. So it's like you've gone to work, you're actually working, you're not able to be on the ground to contribute to some of these things. So it's acceptable, and good enough to have someone go there in your stead and actually do the work. So there are many ways of navigating it in a way that honors the system, the local system, and still be part of the community. But generally, I think the traditions are beautiful, in the sense that just the idea that you've got the community spirit, where people greet each other. You don't just walk by and pass. People greet each other sincerely and genuinely, and you feel the vibe of being in a community. The care, the exchange of people send, as you've seen previously as well, produce and things like that. So yeah, it's wonderful. But for the record, from our side, really, it's not. The village traditions are not overwhelming in any way for us. They are not in any way, a stumbling block to anything that we do.
And we'll just add that village traditions, they are different to each village. Each
Absolutely.
Village has its own. So the first of every month thing may be unique to our village, and another village doesn't do the same. So we're just talking about what's applicable to us here in the village.
Yeah. So this happens at a local level, like here where we are. You would find the same but done differently in other parts of Zimbabwe. So this is something that is also to be understood about, how rural life works in Zim. Different areas have got different practices. There are administrative structures and systems that are designed for the rural systems to work. But when you get down on the ground, this is because people have got different backgrounds, ancestry-wise, and the practices are different. So certain villages observe, certain communities in rural Zimbabwe observe certain things, some do not. So it basically depends on where you end up. What would be your rural, homestead in Zimbabwe. But the general structure of things is the same, but the actual fine detail then varies from village to village, from rural area to rural area. But for us here, just to add that the Sabbath or the holiday on the 1st of every month, it was also designed to accommodate NGO activities, because it then give the NGOs who are coming into the area time to meet with communities. For example, they'll be talking about health issues, they'll be talking about nutrition issues or education issues. So this would give people family planning. Yeah, this would give people leave from their fields because of this holiday that is mandatory. And then it will give everyone an opportunity to meet with government agencies that have been sent in these areas that I've talked about, health, education, and so forth, and other NGOs working in this space. So that's basically what we have found, the background of it.
And the only other thing also is the special holidays where the drum is beat up there at the closer to the village leadership, and they'll be signaling, for instance, if there's a funeral in the chief's family, or another holiday would be a former chief who passed on that particular date. So you have to listen for the drum. There's a certain way that it's beat to communicate something, and everybody knows that, okay, the way that drum is being beat, it means this and this and that, and then you do accordingly. If you are found on the wrong side, you have to pay a penalty. You have to go to the village court. And appease.
So you can, depending on the offense, it can be a chicken, and then it goes up to a goat, I think, up to a cow, things like that. But there isn't so many opportunities to brush with the law in that sense, unless if you are out to look for it. But generally, it's a very peaceable life. It's communal. It's quiet. People generally live in respect of each other's boundaries. Like here in our yard, in our property, we are in our space, so that's how it is. But all the same, we're still in the part of the community.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is it. It's been wonderful to hang out with you. Thank you very much for watching the channel and for all the comments that you've left before and that you continue to leave. We hope to see you on the next video where we give you our life at the homestead.